Welcome to the Disadvantaged Business Enterprise DBE Certification Workshop, Part 3. My name is Danella Reynolds, and I work for Caltrans Office of Civil Rights in the Outreach Unit. If you have any questions during our presentation, please type them in the chat box and we will answer your questions during our presentation. Helpful links will also be shared via the chat box. If you have any additional questions, please send your questions to our email, smallbusinessadvocate@dot.ca.gov. We are going to have a guest speaker today, Christina Kunkel with the NorCal Procurement Technical Assistance Center. Your host for today's presentation is Amanda Himes with Caltrans Office of Civil Rights. Amanda will be guiding you in this presentation, and after each section, we will break for a question and answer portion. Welcome, Amanda.
So good morning, everyone. We apologize for a little bit of a delay due to technical issues. So we appreciate you hanging around for a few minutes longer in the waiting room. So today, we're going to talk about the Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Certification, also known as DBE. At Caltrans here, we love to use acronyms. So to become certified, you must first apply and be approved for the Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Certification. The DBE certification is a federal certification, which means that it applies to contracts which have any amount of federal funding. So this certification is here to really help you grow your business. And we'll get into a couple more topics on this in a couple slides. So a DBE is a for-profit small business that is at least 51% owned by one or more individuals who are both socially and economically disadvantaged. So there's an example here on the screen. If you have a corporation, and we'll go into that in the application. If you have like an LLC or an S Corp, it'll have information on the application. But basically each person who's going to be a majority member has to be socially and economically disadvantaged. So this program creates a level playing field on which DBEs can compete for federally assisted contracts. It ensures the department's DBE program is narrowly tailored in accordance with applicable law. The law that's going to apply to this program is 49 CFR, the Code of Federal Regulations 26. So if you did want to learn more about the technical details of the program, you could look that information up as well. Continuing on with the objectives. So the DBE program promotes the use of DBEs in all types of federally assisted contracts and procurements conducted by recipients, and it assists in the development of firms that can compete successfully in the market outside the DBE program. This certification is recognized by subrecipient local agencies in California. Right now, that's about 600 agencies, so you have quite a bit of exposure once you have this certification. Again, we can't emphasize this enough. It expands opportunities to participate on federally funded contracts. And then you become accessible to prime contractors. They need to fulfill the DBE participation goal on the contracts that they're a prime for. So they can search through the database, which we'll go into in a minute, and find you and offer you work based on that participation goal. So you get listed in the official CUCP database, and I will explain that acronym shortly. But basically it's our official DBE database, which is available for primes to search for subcontractors. It's available to the public and then all local agencies. And then this certification also increases opportunities for you to network at events. We have quite a few different outreach events that we do with Caltrans. Some of the ones that might apply more for the certification would be our procurement fairs and our pre-bid meetings for construction contracts. Okay. So there is kind of a oversight by multiple agencies, so that's listed here. So the U.S. Department of Transportation, they are, we'll say the parent program basically, along with the Federal Highway Administration and the Federal Transit Administration. So they oversee the DBE program at the highest level. And then the U.S. Department of Transportation, so their primary roles and responsibilities is developing the rules and the regulations for the DBE program. They provide guidance and oversight for us and then for the program. And then they review appeals on certification decisions. So we're going to talk about that later on in the presentation. But if you did have an appeal that you wanted to apply, we would not handle that. It would go to the US DOT. So then the Federal Highway Administration and the Federal Transit Authority, their primary roles and responsibilities, again, direct oversight of Caltrans, so over the state DOT. And since they are federal, that applies to other state DOTs. They would be oversight for them. And then they also offer technical assistance and support. And then they monitor and enforce the DBE program requirements on those federally assisted contracts. So Caltrans, our primary roles and responsibility is to certify eligible DBE firms. We are the main certifying agency in California, so we can certify statewide. However, we will talk about contacting your local certification agency as well in the next couple slides. So what else does Caltrans do? We calculate the overall DBE participation goal. We establish contract-specific DBE goals when it's applicable on a contract. And then we also monitor and enforce the DBE program requirements, again, on US DOT assisted contracts. So a little bit of overlap between agencies sometimes, but generally we all work together to make sure that this program is efficient and runs smoothly. So we gave you this acronym a few slides ago, the CUCP. It's the California Unified Certification Program. So what this is the collective agencies throughout California that use the DBE program. So right now there are 8 certifying agencies throughout the state of California. Each state Department of Transportation, so again, we were talking about the different states and how they have federal oversight. So each state is required to have the CUCP. So our CUCP is going to be different than maybe another state's. So each state would have their own. And then the CUCP member agencies throughout California operate under the one agreement. And if you wanted to go to the website, it's listed there below. And again, we're going to send you this presentation so you'll be able to click the links throughout to make it a little bit easier to find the information that we're going over today. Just want to make sure okay, we'll move forward. So these are the 8 certifying agencies throughout the state of California. So the other agencies listed here provide DBE certification in their local geographic area. It's pretty self-explanatory, San Francisco and the Bay Area Rapid Transit, also known as BART, are going to be in the Bay Area, along with Santa Clara and San Mateo. They're all kind of in that same area. The city of Fresno for Central California, and then LA, there's 2 agencies there as well. So of course, Caltrans is statewide, but kind of covers throughout the state. So we're done with the first section of our presentation. Does anyone have any questions, Danella?
At this time, there's no questions. Thank you.
Great. So we will move forward with the presentation. We are going to be talking about DBE eligibility. So there are 6 requirements that must be proved by a DBE applicant. The different eligibility requirements are listed on the screen. That's ownership. Well, let me go through actually, because we're going to go through each slide. So ownership, in order to be a DBE, a firm must be at least 51% owned by socially and economically disadvantaged individuals, which we talked about in the beginning of the presentation. So that is definitely one of the main requirements. And then to explain social and economic disadvantage. The 6 presumptive groups who are considered disadvantaged by the federal government include the individuals listed here. So Asian Pacific Americans, Black Americans, Hispanic Americans, Native Americans, subcontinent Asian Americans, and women. However, if you're not in one of the 6 groups that have the presumption of social and economic disadvantage, you can still apply for DBE certification. You would just need to submit a narrative explaining how you are socially and economically disadvantaged, and that would be reviewed by our certification staff. You know, of course, it's not a guarantee. It would be something that you would need to submit, and then we would look over and reach out to you with our decision. So going over the next eligibility requirement, control of the business. So the 51% owner, which we will also be mentioning quite a bit moving forward. So that's going to be the person who is socially and economically disadvantaged. So they must possess the required license or credential, if required by law, to own and control a certain type of firm. You know, if your business doesn't necessarily require those, then that wouldn't apply to you. But generally, when you're working in construction, you're going to need, you know, some type of license for most jobs. And then also, as an example of the control, say you have an engineering firm with 3 owners, but only one holds the required licenses. That person who owns or who has those licenses must have management control of daily business operations. So you can't have a second owner who doesn't have the license signing off on, you know, paperwork that requires the license. So it's pretty self-explanatory, but we do like to at least give an example. Another one might be, and actually this might go under the ownership as well, but you know, if you're a husband and wife firm, but you know, maybe you're a male Caucasian who doesn't qualify under the presumptive groups, but your wife, being a woman, would, you can't just say, I'm going to give you 51% of my business, and then she has no idea how to do construction. She doesn't even know, you know, what an excavator is or something. So we do site visits with this certification. That is a requirement. So we would be talking to the primary 51% owner or owners. However, you know, that person does have to be involved in the day-to-day operations. And if it's something like not knowing what an excavator is, we can, you know, we might be able to say, it's a little bit questionable. So just know that that person does have to have the licenses and have be involved in the daily business operations and control. So independence, this is another eligibility requirement. So only an independent business may be certified as a DBE. This means that the business must not be dependent on another firm to provide things like personnel or a facility, equipment, or financial support. So you have to be an independent business. And then going into financials, so your personal net worth, the 51% majority owner or owners must not, their personal net worth, individual personal net worth must not exceed 1.32 million. So 2 things that would not be included in that total would be your primary residence or your home, and then the value of your business too. So that makes it a little bit, you know, some people, I've had questions where, well, isn't my business included in that? No, that would be separate. So this is your personal net worth. And then, you know, noted here on the slide, there may be some cases in which an individual whose personal net worth, again, we love our acronyms, is less than 1.32 million. So they may not be regarded as economically disadvantaged. And then again, our regulations that you're welcome to look up and find most of this information is going to be in the 49 CFR 26. Okay. So then the next eligibility requirement is the business size standard. So your 3-year average gross receipts cannot exceed 23.98 million. This does vary by certain industries, but that is the general, that's going to be the general financial requirement for most businesses. So again, we're going to send you this PowerPoint that has a few notes, so you'll be able to see which different industries might have different requirements. But for the most part, you're going to be within that 23.98 million. Another thing to note here is that it does say 3 years average gross receipts. The question that we get quite a bit is, well, what if I haven't owned my business for 3 years? That's completely fine. If you're just starting out, you can still apply for this certification. You would just use different financial documents. And again, we can kind of go over that in when we go over the application. but in general, if you've been around for 3 years, then you would use, your business documents. So just want to make sure that everyone knows that you don't have to be in business for 3 years in order to qualify for this certification. So then we are also going to be going through our website really quick, and then we'll probably be taking questions right after this. So we want to show you how to get to the application. We did send the application when you received the link for this webinar. There were some attachments. So if you want to now, since we're going to go over a few more slides, it's beneficial to print out that application so you can either take notes or you can fill it out as you go, but really it's, if you want to take notes or have it in front of you so it's a little bit easier to read, because I'm sure your screens aren't very big, so some of the little boxes might be a little bit small. So if you have the ability to print, that might be a good time to print that application, or you can go to the website here and follow along that way, but we will have screenshots. So you would go to our Caltrans website, which is dot.ca.gov. And it may look a little bit different than this as far as what's on the main screen, but basically you'll click at the top where it says programs, which is highlighted by the red arrow above. You would then get to this screen, which shows all of our programs. You would click on civil rights, which is the office that Danella and I work in. So click on civil rights. You would then scroll down to the bottom where it says certification. There's a header there. And where the red arrow is pointing, it says Disadvantaged Business Enterprise. You would click on that link, and then you would be taken to our information site for Disadvantaged Business Enterprise. And you would click on How Do I Become DBE Certified? So again, we'll be sending you this presentation. You can follow along to get to the application as well. It's going to take you to this next screen, which explains some of what we're going over right now. So you would scroll down to the bottom of the application, and it will show the two links with the red arrows. So you're gonna click on the CUCP DBE certification application package and instruction. That would be the one portion of it. And then also the supplemental personal net worth statement, which is required. So you would need to make sure you have both of those documents. And I do see the address on this screenshot has been updated, so we will put that information when we send out the new PowerPoint. We'll put the correct information in there for you. So do we have any questions, Danella?
Yes, we've gotten quite a few questions.
Okay, take a couple.
So I have a question. Do you need to certify with each agency? And the answer is no. You only certify with one agency. Let me get to the other one here. If I have Caltrans DBE certification, do I also need to get Los Angeles Metro? And the answer is no. You only certify with one certifying agencies. We do have 8 certifying agencies in California. And Caltrans is probably the biggest certifying agency, but you only certify with one agency at a time. So there's a question, is this a 9-year certification? And once you're approved, you meet the criteria for DBE certification. DBE certification does not expire. The only way that you would be not certified anymore is if you went over the size standard or the personal net worth, but there's no expiration date on certification. Okay, hold on just a sec. There's a lot of messages coming in. Okay, so I control more than 51% of an engineering and construction firm, but I only have the license for engineering. Would I be eligible? Yes, you're definitely eligible. Can you be a construction supplier, I believe? Hold on. Yes, you can be a construction supply company. I answered, okay, I got that question. Do I have to have my own trucks or leased trucks before applying. Um, when you're applying for DBE certification as and your main business is trucks, you need to own one of the trucks. Thank you, you guys. These are great questions. And this is the last question. Do I have to have done a work already in order to be certified? Certification is for the small business world, and if you just opened your business yesterday, yes, you can apply for DBE certification.
So moving forward, we're going to go through the application process. Let's see, just want to make sure we are on the right page. So we're going to review each page of the DBE application, highlighting some of the most important sections. However, due to time, we're not going to go through each section. So you do want to make sure that you read through the application and complete it thoroughly. You might even want to have someone else in your household maybe look it over to see if you missed anything, or check it once and then leave it for a minute and then go back at another time, because I'm sure you all know we always tend to maybe miss something here or there that we didn't see the first time, but it always helps to go back a second time. So I do want to note that due to the COVID-19 situation, processing times for the DBE applications may be delayed. Again, we're going to give you the number to contact the certification department at the end of the presentation. They are going to be the ones that have the most up-to-date information. But as of right now, just with the unique situation we're dealing with, I think that's to be expected in most everything. So I do want to make that note here. However, the usual processing time in non-COVID times was about 90 days after your application is deemed complete. So we do want to make sure that you realize that if you submit your application and it's not considered complete, the certification branch will reach out to you to provide that required information. So they'll probably send you a letter that says, we need this information to proceed. So don't get discouraged if you receive that information. It's not denying the application. It's just saying, hey, we need a couple more documents, or hey, something didn't get filled out correctly. I guess the main point is just make sure you submit the required documents to the best of your ability in the beginning. If not, then please submit the documents they're asking for within the allotted time that would be given to you as well. So we did talk about submitting your application by mail. As far as I understand right now, again, this is a fluid situation with COVID. We do still need the original application with original signatures, and those can be mailed to our office, which again, we'll provide that information in the PowerPoint and in our follow-up email. So moving forward to the application, this is the first page here. And this has the instructions on how to fill out the application. And then I will get to the checklist in a minute, but there's also a checklist that will help you fill out the application as well. So this is probably really tiny on your screen, some of these words. Again, we're going to be sending this to you, and we can see about making this an attachment on our follow-up email as well. But basically, this is the DBE application process flowchart. I'm sure you've seen these before. You kind of pick which option applies to you and keep going until you find your answer. So again, that'll be sent to you. And as you can see, it's not the most linear application process either. So where your small business certification is online, it doesn't take very long. You can be certified in an hour. The DBE process is going to be quite a bit different. So application processing. So here's a quick summary of how it works. We are going to assign the application once it's received to a certification analyst here at the Office of Civil Rights. The analyst will conduct a preliminary review to identify missing documents. We just talked about this, and then they will reach out to you if further clarification is needed or if you need to submit more documentation. A site visit will then be scheduled and conducted. Again, due to COVID, that that's always changing. So we will give you that number to, if you do have questions about that, the certification analyst can give you the most up-to-date information there. And then the next step would be an analyst conducting a final review of the entire record and completing your eligibility recommendation. So then the final step would be the determination of your certification. So you can either be approved or denied. We're going to get into some of the denial information later on in the presentation. And then just a note here, a certifying agency may extend the processing for an additional 60 days. Again, with COVID, we're just kind of taking it day by day. So just be aware of that. So this is the checklist that I was talking about in the last slide. So this checklist is, you should use it in the beginning and at the end. So in the beginning, you can make sure that you have all those documents ready when you start the application. You might need to pull information if you don't know it off the top of your head. So use this at the beginning when you start your application, and then also you'll use it at the end to make sure that you checked off every box and to make sure that everything listed there is in the application. So there's different requirements depending on how your business is structured. So this is not a be-all, end-all, and I won't go into all of the requirements because we'd be here way longer than 2 hours. So you can go ahead and when you receive the application or when you receive the PowerPoint, you can refer back to that for more specific information. So then the next page is going to be your basic contact information, self-explanatory. And then one section here, number 2, that we want to make sure we highlight is you'll need to identify applicable NAICS codes for your business. So you're probably like, what codes? So you can find more information about these codes at NAICS.com. So it's www.naics.com. And there you'll be able to search and find codes to list on your application. So what a NAICS code is, again with the acronyms, and I apologize, doing these presentations actually helps to remember, hey, you have to remember your audience sometimes and spell things out. So what it stands for is the North American Industry Classification Code. Again, won't get into the big history about them, but you can read on the website. But basically, it's what's used to basically assign your primary duties. So once you find the codes from the website, you can fill them in there on section 2, line 2. You can see some filled in, the 237310. So that would identify your primary business activity, and that's what you'll want to list on this application. There's also Caltrans work codes, which I won't get you too deep into that to confuse you, but those are actually assigned by Caltrans based on what NAICS codes are used, and then those are assigned based on the authority of 4924 CFR 26.71. So again, that's in the regulations if you needed to look that up. But basically, the NAICS codes are going to identify what you do, and then after being certified, you're also able to add codes as well. But for the initial application, you'll want to look at what you do as your primary business and list those. If you do hauling as your main business, you'll want to put that. But if you do, metal storage or something like that, that's going to be more on the, down the line. So you just want to put the primary on your application. And again, the application will have more information and go into more detail about this. We just kind of want to go through and give you an overview. And it would probably help if I put the slide up. I apologize, guys, but here's some information about those codes. So again, you can review these when we send you the PowerPoint. And then moving on to the next page of the application, this would be page 6. So there's some important information that you want to list here. So your federal tax ID, the type of business structure. So we did kind of touch on this before, but they want to know what type of business you have, if it's a partnership or a corporation or sole proprietor. So you have those options there. More basic information that you can read over. We talked about the gross annual receipt. So that's going to be on section 9. As you can see, it's filled in there. And then there's a section, so it's section B, and it talks about information on shared office space. So you can find more information about being an independent business, which we talked about. You know, there could be somewhat of a gray area there depending on how you're sharing office space. So you'll just want to make sure that you list as detailed information as you can. If you do share office space with another business, you know, you'll just be ready to provide an explanation on how, you know, you're independent of them. And then there's another section here, which is the gross receipts, which we went over. So the next section of the application, this is going to be page 7 of 14. So this section is where you're going to identify the majority owner of the firm. Excuse me. So you're going to define the ownership and the percentage. And then you'll also fill out this page for any additional owners of the firms if necessary. So you can make a copy of this document, and it would be, you know, you'd make one for the first owner and then the second owner. If you do have multiple owners, it's going to ask some personal information as far as their group membership, how we talked about the being socially and economically disadvantaged. So there's a section here. And then you'll also describe your familiar relationships with the owners and employees. So that does need to be completed. As you can see, and like I said before, this is a little bit different from getting your small business certification because there is quite a bit more that's asked of you in this certification. So also here, what we want to make sure we touch on is you need to accurately reflect your ownership and an initial investment. It's very important to provide backup documentation. So if you know, your father-in-law loaned you money to start your business, you'll want to make sure that you have some kind of documentation that notes that. We just want to highlight that is something that you really want to make sure you have the information and are able to explain. So moving forward, page 8 of 14. So this is going to be the owner information, so more information about what we already stated. However, one thing that's noted on here, and I think I have it to talk about as well, I'm going to kind of drill it in, is that you want to make sure this application is complete. So if something doesn't apply to you, you'll want to write not applicable or NA, so that, you know, your application might not get kicked back where they say, hey, you didn't fill this out. If it doesn't apply to you, it's better just to write not applicable than to leave it blank. So moving forward, so page 9 is the control. So this was part of the eligibility requirements. And so this is kind of where it's going to ask you that information. So you're going to identify your firm's officers and board of directors, if applicable. And you can kind of see the example filled out there. And that's going to be for corporations. And then also on section B, the duties of owners, officers, directors, managers, and key personnel. So basically you're going to identify the controlling roles of the firm. So you can kind of see in the example that hopefully you can see, I know it's really small, some of the boxes that are checked there. So again, you'll be able to look at this in more detail either from the follow-up email or once you start the application. But again, we just kind of want to go over some of the most important sections to complete and to make sure that you pay attention to. So then page 10 of 14 continues on with some of those boxes there that you can look through, kind of ask you a few questions. And then you'll also want to list your equipment. So especially in construction, it is very important that you list all of the equipment that you own. Some of that equipment, you know, the bigger excavators and bulldozers that are listed there, it'll really help to show that you can do do work and what you can do with what equipment you have. And then also when we do our site visits where we actually go to your home or see what equipment you have. You know, what you list on the application needs to be what you actually have. So you can't put that you own 15 water trucks and 8 bulldozers and you really just own like a wheelbarrow. You want to make sure you have what you list on your application. So that's really important as well. And then also we talked about office space being shared, but you want to talk about your office space if it's not shared, where it is, and then, you know, if it's owned or leased. And one question that we may get, or that we get pretty often, is what if I have a home office? So that's perfectly fine if you work out of your home. We would still conduct a site visit of that space. You know, we don't need to go into your kids' rooms or anything like that, but we will look at your office space that's within your home to verify that the information listed on your application is true. So moving forward, this is going to be page 11 of 14. So on section F, it says identify all sources, amounts, and purposes of money loaned to you or your firm from financial institutions. So we do need to, you know, if you have a loan to start your business, or, you know, any outstanding loans for equipment and such, you'll want to put that on this section of the application. You also need to identify the firm or your company's banking information. And I know this is sensitive information and you're probably like, I don't want to give you that information. However, we do want to assure you that this is a federal program that requires this information. And again, it's outlined in our 49 CFR 26 regulations. And we do, you know, have safety practices in place. So, you know, you can feel comfortable giving that information, and it is required in order to move forward with the application. So then you'll also identify all transfers of assets on this form and list all license permits of the owner. So we talked about how important that was in the beginning of the presentation. Here on the application is where you would list that information. Okay. The next page of the presentation is going to be listing your three largest current contracts. So these do not need to be government contracts. They don't need to be Caltrans contracts. We just need to know, you know, what you currently have going on as far as your work. And then you can also list the, I'm sorry, I kind of got ahead of myself. The first section here, I, is going to be your largest completed contracts. Same things apply that I just said. And then the next section is going to be your current contracts. So we want to know what you've done, and then we want to know what you're doing. So we do kind of need to get into your business just a little bit, but really, like I said, this is a great certification and it's here to benefit you. So all this information is necessary and required in order to move forward with the application process. And again, if you have any questions, we're here to explain things to you. We have someone here every day who you can call or email for that information. So if you don't have contracts, like you're just getting started, or you don't have any work to reference, that's fine as well. You can write not applicable. However, you know, you do want to reference, if you have references that you've worked maybe for another company doing that type of work, you know, you might want to list that information just so that we know that you do the type of work that you're listing on your application. So it's good to put something there if you have that experience. Okay. So getting to the end of the application, so this page, it's going to be number 13. It's the affidavit of certification. So this is for the majority owner or owners to complete. This form, it must be completed by each individual owner. And then it also, you need to make sure that the owners have the disadvantaged status. I know we've gone over that, but we want to make sure you get that part down. And then this is to determine certification eligibility. So basically, you know, you want to make sure that when you sign this, that everything you've said in your application is truthful. And then this document will get notarized. So both this document, the application, and the personal net worth statement are required to be notarized for it to be considered complete. So while the certification is free, there's no cost to apply. There's no cost once you have the certification. You do have to pay to get it notarized. And we, you know, you can go to the UPS store. We don't really have a say on where you go to get that done. If you know someone who's a notary, that's just whoever you choose and whatever costs, you know, it is out there. I know Last I heard from a couple of firms, they paid anywhere from like maybe $20 to $40. So not a huge cost either. And it's just to make sure that, everything is official on these documents. So it's very, very important to remember to sign the application, to date the application, and to make sure it's notarized before you send it to us. People go through this process. It's a lot of information, and they'll get to the end and just stuff it in an envelope, and it's like, oops, you forgot to get it notarized. So please make sure you pay attention to that. This is also where you would bring up that checklist from the beginning and make sure that you've gone through each box of and check off the sections of the application that you've completed. So with the application process being completed, and we went over it on a very, very high-level overview, does anyone have any questions? Do we have any, Danila?
I have a question. This is very concerning to me. I applied 1 year ago and was told about the visit at my office, which is probably the on-site interview. After that, I never heard. So when you send an application to the certification office, the front office assigns your application to a certification analyst, and then an email is sent to you, the applicant, with your certification analyst name, their email, and then they also assign a firm ID to your application. I would recommend that you call the office directly, 916-324-1700, and you will be connected to the analyst of the day. The certification analysts take turns answering calls so better service can be given to you. If you don't get any response, please feel free to email me at Small Business Advocate, and I will do what I can to help. So there was, please send me link for woman-owned certification. I have your email address. DBE, Caltrans DBE certification is woman-owned certification. If you're a woman and you're the majority owner of your business, then you meet the criteria for DBE certification. But if you do have further questions, you can always call the certification office directly. You can email them, or you can send an email to the Small Business Advocate email, and I will give you a call back. I would like more information on WBE, so that's the Woman Business Enterprise.
So we're gonna, when we send the follow-up email, we can probably send that information to make sure that it gets out to everyone who requested it too, since it seems like there's quite a bit of interest. But we, just like Danella said, we do want to emphasize that if you are a woman-owned business, you're gonna get the most benefit out of applying for the DBE certification. And
I wanted to also add that Caltrans DBE certification, the certification is for federally funded contracts. The program is federally mandated, so that's why you do have to submit your application and personal net worth statement and additional docs. I think that, okay, so hi Danella, my business corporation is a training and consulting. Can I still apply for DBE certification? Yes, yes, you sure can, and I hope you do.
That's about it.
Yeah, I think this is about it.
And then we'll also be taking questions at the end. So if you guys want to continue sending questions, we're going throughout the presentation, but we'll have some time at the end, hopefully. I think we're doing pretty good on time, so we'll have some time to answer more questions as well. So continue sending them, even if it was part of a different section of the presentation. We can go back to them at the end. So thank you.
And can I just I just want to remind everyone that at the conclusion of this DBE presentation, we are going to stay online, and we'll be answering if you have any questions. We'll stay on the presentation longer so we can answer your questions.
Okay, so we're going to be moving forward. So we have talked about the personal net worth statement, or the PNW. So this form is a supplemental form required to be sent in with your application. So even though it's not part of the actual application, when you go to the link, you print it, you want to make sure that you do print that as well, or fill it out online, or fill it out and then print it, because they do need to be submitted. So it is required. That's the main point of that. So the individual's personal net worth includes only his or her share of assets held separately, jointly, or as community property with the individual's spouse, and it excludes the following. So the individual's ownership interest in the applicant firm or business, the individual's equity in his or her primary residence, and then tax and interest penalties that would accrue if retirement savings or investments were distributed at the present time. So that one's really important, especially right now with COVID going on. I know there's some things with retirement accounts, so you just want to make sure that when you apply that you have that information available and you're able to complete the form with it. So this is what the form looks like. Again, it was sent as part of the email that you received with the link. So if you were able to print the form earlier, if you have this in front of you, you can see what it looks like. I know it is a little bit smaller on the screen. So again, we're just going to highlight a couple items on here to kind of help you in your journey to complete the form. So you must fill out all items on this sheet. Just like the application, if it doesn't apply to you, you want to make sure that you put NA or not applicable. You don't want to leave really anything blank, as that could, hold up the application process. And then you also want to make sure that all assets and liabilities are recorded at their current fair market values as of the date when you complete this application. So we're going to talk about some of the assets and liabilities that you would list on this application. So it'd be cash and cash equivalents, retirement accounts, IRAs, 401ks, all of the different types of accounts, your brokerage and custodial accounts, so your stocks, your bonds, and again, any retirement accounts that fall into that subsection, assets that are held in trust, loans to shareholders and other receivables not listed, real estate, life insurance. So those are just some examples of assets that you would list. Again, it's not an exhaustive list. For more information, you can read through the personal net worth statement. We also recommend, as we can't really advise you so much on this application, that you check in with your personal CPA or other financial consultant to make sure that everything you're listing is correct. And then also you need to list your liabilities. So this would be any mortgages that you have on real estate, any loans on life insurance. Again, with the retirement accounts, you probably want to look into if you have any of those to pay back, and then unpaid taxes, of course. So then there are a couple pages to the personal net worth statement. Section 3 is going to go over your brokerage and custodial accounts, your stocks, your bonds, and retirement account information. Section 4 is going to include your real estate owned. Sorry, we're having a little technical difficulty here. Sorry about that. So it's going to include all your real estate owned. So your primary residence, your investment properties, your personal property, which is whether it's leased or rented, farm property, anything, including income that you use for income. And then section 5 is going to list your insurance, including beneficiaries. So again, kind of hard to see on the screen with the tiny text, but once you have the application in front of you, it'll be a little bit easier to see exactly what's being asked. So then when you're ready to submit your application, so we highly suggest that you use the checklist at the beginning and at the end to make sure you haven't missed any sections, that you want to make sure that you complete each section, and instead of leaving anything blank, you'll want to put not applicable for those items. You'll want to sign, date, and notarize both the application and the personal net worth statement. And then again, we do have our certification analysts available. The email is listed here, as well as their phone number. We'll also have it at the end, and we will be sending you this PowerPoint, so you'll have that readily available. But we just wanted to highlight the most important parts of submitting your application, being that you know, Danella has worked in the certification office. She knows kind of the most common errors when it comes to submitting them. So we wanted to make sure that we emphasize those here before you submit your application. So this is just kind of a little reminder before you submit. And then talking about the federal DBE certification, it does have a interstate certification available. So if you are certified, say in Nevada, since it's our neighbor, if you're certified in Nevada with a DBE certification and you move over to California, or you know, you decide to come this way and you want to apply for the DBE certification again, you won't have to go through the entire process, filling out the application, submitting all the documents. Not to say that you might not have to submit documents, but having the interstate certification option makes it a little bit easier for you. So here it states that firms must be certified in their home state before seeking certification in another state, which is kind of self-explanatory. The California certifying agency can request the on-site report from the home state. So again, us or the other 8 agencies can request that information from wherever you're certified at. So if it's Nevada, we would contact them. So then the out-of-state business, so say your business in Nevada, you must complete a package of all documents submitted to their home state. So I'm actually going to defer to Danella to answer this, but would this be the business would have to submit the complete package because they request that from their state, so they don't have to?
So for interstate certification, the regulation is you have to be certified in your home state first. So for example, if you certified with California, with Caltrans here in California, and you wanted to get certified in Idaho, you would submit your application to Idaho. There's an out-of-state declaration on our page that has the certification, but Idaho will contact your home state to get a copy of your on-site report. And if you request it, we can also ask the home state for a copy of the application package that you submitted to them. If you keep a copy of your application package once you submit it to your home state, then when you do seek out interstate certification with another state, I would recommend just sending them a copy of whatever you submitted to us. But there is a 2-page out-of-state declaration that would need to be signed, dated, and notarized by you. But don't worry about the on-site report. We will contact your home state and get that.
Okay, so they have the option of, hopefully, since this is quite important, that you would keep your application package. So if they have it, submit it with their declarations, which again, you can get the California one on our website, and I'm sure other state DOTs would have that information available online. But we can also request it from their home state if maybe they moved and they lost the documents or something like that. So it can go either ways.
It can go either way, but keep in mind, if you were certified in California 10 years ago and you're just now applying for a certification in another state, you want to send your last 3 years personal and business taxes, and also a new personal net worth statement, because the DBE program, we're federally mandated to check your size standard and your personal net worth. So I would recommend.
It's been quite a while, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked to people that were certified with us 20 years ago. But also keep in mind, if you're certified here in California, you can always call the certification office directly, or you can email them, and they can definitely help you out with that.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Danella.
Thank you.
Again, she's our resident certification expert in our outreach office. So I still defer to her for a lot of the information. So interstate certification, so it's not automatic reciprocity. Each state must review other states' determination and other documentation, which I think Danella just explained pretty well. So then we're going to talk about the denials of certification. So, you know, once you complete the application, I know most of you hope that you're going to get the approval, but there are reasons that you could be denied. So some of those are going to be, well, actually, we're going to go over those in the next slide. So basically, your denial of certification, it can be appealed. So if Caltrans says, you're denied, you can complete an appeal. It must be submitted within 90 days of the date of the denial letter. So keep that in mind. If it's mailed to you, the time for postage and everything, you'll want to make sure you note the date on the letter. And then they won't be sent to Caltrans. It is going to be appealed through the U.S. Department of Transportation. So you can kind of keep that in mind as well. Of course, they're going to look over the information so that it's kind of a different agency and there's no conflict there. So the following will need to be explained in your appeal. So why was the certification decision erroneous? Which significant facts were not considered by the certifying agency? Which regulatory provision was improperly implied? You'll just want to be really detailed on why you feel like your denial or why you should have been approved. So those are just some questions there to look into to kind of help you write that appeal. But of course, there's much more information you can put in there. We just wanted to give you a couple of examples. So remaining in good standing. So say you did get approved. We want you to remain in good standing as a certified DBE. So you want to notify the certifying agency, whether it be Caltrans or one of the other 8 agencies, of any changes to ownership, your business structure, your primary business activities, anything that's of importance that we would need to know that affects your business. And then you'll also want to make sure that your contact information is up to date and that it's accurate in the CUCP database. So that's the database where firms can go and search for you, the public can search for you, or you can, local agencies or the state agencies can search for you. So it's very important that you check that on a regular basis to make sure everything is complete. And just, it's really important. So maybe even put a calendar invite to check it quarterly or monthly, whatever you need to do to make sure that that information is always current. And then you'll receive an annual update affidavit. It's the 5-year review process. So while the DBE certification does not expire, they do the 5-year annual reviews just to make sure that the information provided is either still correct or if it needs to be changed. So that is something that will be sent out on your 5th year of certification. So then suspension of your DBE certification. So you were approved, you're doing good, but now there's the possibility of, being suspended. So we're going to talk about what that would entail and how that would happen. We would hope that it would never happen, but it has to businesses. So one of the reasons that you could be suspended is if you were incarcerated or if the disadvantaged owner passed away. So those are 2 items. There's material changes that affect the DBE certification eligibility. So if something, were to change as far as in your business or even possibly, regulations, that could affect it as well. And then also when you fail to notify us in writing of any of those material changes and circumstances, we do have the ability to suspend you based on that. And that's why it's so important, why we're highlighting these right now, that you do notify us of any changes. We'd rather know now than before you're in the middle of a contract. So please make sure that you are checking that and updating it as much as you possibly can to keep it accurate. And then when a DBE fails to timely file a no change affidavit or provide supporting documents. So that one's pretty self-explanatory. So then the effects of suspension. So what could possibly happen is that you would not receive credit towards a DBE contract goal on a new contract. Any work that a DBE or yourself, if you are a DBE, performs on a contract, any work a DBE performs on a contract received during the suspension does not count towards Caltrans' overall annual DBE participation goal. And you don't want to get in bad with your primes either. So if you get suspended while you're on a contract, that prime is probably not going to be happy because they're not going to be able to get that credit on the contract. So you want to make sure that you don't have any issues with potentially being suspended because it affects your relationships with your other firms you're working with are primes as well. So there's multiple ripples that can happen if you get suspended. And then, let's see, a suspended DBE may continue to perform under an existing contract executed before they receive notice of suspension, and that may be counted towards the goal. So we're not saying that if you're in the middle of a contract that you're not going to receive credit, but there's a possibility that it could be counted. Again, the prime's probably not going to be your friend once they hear about that. So just the best thing is just to follow the rules, keep everything as updated as possible. So then to resolve a suspension, so if you feel you're no longer eligible, you may voluntarily withdraw from the program. So you can potentially leave the program if you decide to. And then I apologize, I'm just going to move this a bit so we can plug in our cord here. Thank you. And then if the DBE believes its eligibility should be reinstated, say they were suspended and now they want it to be reinstated, they must provide information to support that they maintain the eligibility under the changed circumstances. So there is that possibility as well. You just have to put in the work to show that you did make the change and you do still want to be certified. And then a certifying agency must make an eligibility determination within, I believe it's 30 days of receiving information from a suspended DBE. So those timeframes with the application also apply to when you're sending information regarding suspension. It seems like there's due dates on pretty much everything, so just be aware of that. And then the decision to suspend a DBE is not appealable to the U.S. Department of Transportation. So want to make sure we differentiate that from an appeal of an application. Yes, that's appealable. A decision to suspend is not appealable. We're going to go ahead and move forward. So some frequently asked questions. Since we do have a little bit of time, we'll go through these fairly quickly. I think we might have talked about a couple of them. So is there a fee for applying? As stated before, no, you just need to pay for notarizing your documents and whatever postage would be included. So generally from what I've heard from people, $20 to $40 for the notary, maybe, if you overnight, maybe 20 bucks. So really the costs are minimal, and they're just not necessarily for the certification, just for getting your paperwork completed. And so then I work out of my home. Is the on-site required? We did answer this. So yes, it's still required if you work out of your home. And then again, talking about a security breach. So it looks like we did go over a couple of these, but these are good to reiterate so that you, make sure that you pay attention to these specific questions. So we do comply with confidentiality requirements, and we take the protection of your documents seriously. All files are kept behind locked doors where only certain staff have access. And I can attest to this. I'm not allowed to go in some places, so it is very secure here. And then how long does the DBE certification process take? Again, with COVID, that is we can't really give a hard answer, so we would just say the best option for answering this question would be to call the certification analyst, which we will give you the information, or send them an email, because they're going to have the most up-to-date information in this fluid situation. Generally, it's going to be 90 days after receiving the completed package of documents that we don't need anything further, and it's been deemed a complete package. And then does the DBE certification expire? So we just went over that. It does not expire, but you do have a 5-year annual review of information. And then I am a nonprofit organization. Can I apply for DBE certification? So as stated in the beginning of the presentation, a DBE firm is a for-profit small business. So unfortunately, no. However, if you are a nonprofit organization, you can apply through DGS, our Department of General Services. They do have a specific small business designation for nonprofit. So that's another option for you outside of the DBE program. And then I am an out-of-state business looking to work in California. Can I apply for DBE certification? So yes, it's possible. However, you must be certified in your home state before you can apply to be certified in California. So there is that stipulation. And then the next question would be, does a DBE certification have reciprocity with other agencies such as the Small Business Administration? So again, this is where some people get confused with the SB small business certification through the Department of General Services and our DBE program. So unfortunately, no, we do not have reciprocity with other agencies. And the Small Business Administration, if you don't know about their programs, they also have federal programs, which are great. And I would recommend that anyone who hasn't checked out the Small Business Administration website for more information. So the DBE program and the SBA's 8A program are separate federal certifications. And you have to apply for both in order to receive the benefits of each certification. So can I use the DBE application to apply for certification as a ACDBE? Again, we love our acronyms. So AC is Airport Concessions, and then DBE, Disadvantaged Business Enterprise. So that's going to be for people who work with any kind of airport or aviation industry. We do have that designation as well. So it's the same application as the DBE. You would just make sure that you note the parts on the application that talk about the airport concessions. You're DBE certified, so now what happens? A lot of people think that just because you have your DBE certification, that these contracts are just going to be rolling through your door and we're going to be running up to you and saying, hey, come work with us. So while we do want you to work with us, you do have to put in the work. So it's not an instantaneous thing where you're going to just all of a sudden, get a ton of information thrown at you. We are here to help you and walk you through the process, but you do need to do the work. So some of the information, let me see here, a little more technical difficulties. Our little clicker doesn't want to work. So if they'll pop up here, I'll give you, there we go. So some of the information that we can give you to help you would be to be proactive. And again, I just, for the sake of time, there are some notes in this PowerPoint presentation that are great to explain each of these sections. But for now, I'll just go over, the general idea. So be proactive. You'll want to just make sure that you're on top of things. Make sure that you're looking at when we have contracts available, that you're on, our website, making sure that, you see upcoming opportunities for whether it be training, educate yourself, which is the second one. So we do offer quite a bit of training classes. Everything's a little different due to COVID, so we're working on getting more out there. Pre-COVID, we had tons of meetings and tons of presentations and trainings that we offered throughout the state. And I do want to highlight that we have an events calendar on our page, which is the dot.ca.gov, and then you click on Office of Civil Rights under programs. You can see what upcoming events, opportunities we have for outreach. Like I said, it might be a little bit slower due to COVID right now, but we are posting as those events come along. And then you want to market your firm. So I would hope that most of you have a capability statement or a line card that you use to market yourself to firms and to agencies. If you don't, there's some great agencies that can assist you on how to do that. Your local small business development center or your procurement technical assistant centers, your women business centers. So there's a lot of resources out there for free to help you market your firm. And then you want to network. So, meeting those prime companies, meeting with government agencies, meeting with other DBE firms that you could potentially, work together with. There's a lot of networking opportunities. Caltrans has some options for networking as well. So like I said, visit our events calendar. Most of it's going to be online right now, but we do hope to have some networking events in the future online. Gotta love Zoom. And then the last one is be prepared. You want to make sure that you have all of your ducks in a row before you start working on government contracts. They can be a little bit different than, just a normal job you're going to get in the private sector or whatever you want to call it. There's paperwork, there's regulations. So you just want to make sure that you read up on as much as you can, that you have all the documents completed, that you do your research, big one there. And then we are going to send you a brochure along with the follow-up email that'll have these tips as well as go into a little bit more detail than we're going into now. So then resources, we have, we should have kept count, Danella, of how many times we talked about the certification analyst being available. So here listed on this slide is the certification analyst of the day. They're available Monday through Friday from 8 to 5. The number is there as well as the email address. Again, due to COVID, you do want to, give us maybe 24, possibly 48 hours to respond. We will do our best to do it as fast as we can, but just please be aware that due to the situation, might not get a response in 5 minutes, but we'll do our best. And then also some links to important websites. So the Caltrans OCR, which is the Office of Civil Rights, which is where Danella and I, that's our office here, as well as certification. So the link to that is listed. We do have district small business liaisons throughout the state. We have 12 of them in each of our 12 districts. So you can get their contact information from the link there. They're there to provide assistance to you in regards to, finding out how to do business with us. They're not necessarily going to help you start your business if you haven't started yet, but they are there to be a resource to you. And then Caltrans Contractors Corner. So this is where you'll find Caltrans construction projects. Even if you're not able to work on $50 million contracts, we have all different sizes there. It's good to just click on that link and go look and see what's available and kind of familiarize with that site before you even start bidding on contracts. We do have a presentation. I hope most of you joined us on Wednesday, and Dinko went over that website. So that should be available as a recording soon towards the middle of June. So please check that out because we want you to be familiar with our website as well and how you would contract with us. And then we also have a division here at Caltrans for procurement and contracting. So again, you can check that out if you maybe sell products or if you do service contracts. That would be another resource for you. And then not related to DBE, but also a great resource for you if you want to work with the state is Cal eProcure. That's where you'll find your small business certification, where you'll find statewide contracts, and then also our disabled veteran business enterprise certification is available on that website as well. And that if you've been through the series, you know that DGS talked about their website quite a bit over the last few sessions and did such a great job. But for now, we're going to go to our next speaker.
Yes.
Okay.
So we are going to have our guest speaker for today, Christina Kunkel with the NorCal Procurement Technical Assistance Center, share some information with you.
Janella, and thank you, Amanda, so much.
Let me.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
My name is Christina Kunkel, and I'm the Program Director for the NorCal PTAC. Thanks for having me today. I'm just going to give you a brief overview of PTACs and then some more small business resources for you. So if you aren't familiar with PTACs, Procurement Technical Assistance Center, more acronyms, there's actually 94 of us nationwide and 6 in the state of California. And our mission is really just to help businesses compete and succeed in the government marketplace. So what that means is if you're anywhere in your business from you've already won hundreds of millions of contracts to you just got your business started yesterday and you're interested in selling to any government agency, we're here to help. And we're here to help for free. Our services are no cost, funded by federal, state, and local grants and contracts. And I like to say that they're actually prepaid. You paid for our services through your taxes, so you might as well use our resources. There's a map here on the right of the PTACs that are located in California. Mine is the NorCal PTAC in the lime green, and the stars represent where the headquarters offices are. But many of the PTACs also have satellite offices as well. You don't need to visit any of our offices in person, especially during COVID, but really anytime. We're always able to find to meet with you remotely, virtually, through Zoom conference or over the phone. There's also an American Indian PTAC I want to mention. It's located in Los Angeles, but it serves multiple states, and those are listed here. Can I get the next slide, please? This is information on my specific PTAC, the NorCal PTAC. And just like other PTACs, we provide 3 core services: one-on-one counseling, workshops and webinars, and bid matching services. Again, these are all free. Our headquarters office is up in Humboldt, California, but we also have 3 satellite offices that are located in Richmond, San Francisco, and San Jose, and we're looking to expand as well. So once we are able to meet with people in person, when this is over, you can meet with us in those offices or again, remotely. And we can help you. So our one-on-one counseling is all confidential, and we can help you with anything related to government contracting. So that's certifications, like the DBE certification. We have someone on our staff who's helped and processed over 250 DBE certification. She's a real expert. We can help with SB DBE certification, any of the federal certifications that were briefly mentioned, like woman-owned small business, hub zone, service disabled veteran owned, 8A. We can help with anything like that. SAM registration, DUNS numbers, helping you craft your capability statement. We have a system called GovSpend that we can help you do market research to find out who's already buying what you're selling, and then help you connect with those buyers who are already buying what you're selling. Marketing to government agencies, we can help you interpret solicitations and proposal reviews, and these are all things that any PTAC can help you with. Our workshops and webinars are free, and in our last fiscal year, we helped our clients win more than $268 million in government contracts. And we just did this calculation that I'm pretty excited about. Our counselors have 241 years of experience. That averages out to 34 years of experience per counselor. So these people really know what they're doing. Most of them are former contracting officers. We actually have someone who worked for the VTA for 35 years, which is another certifying agency. So if you're not located in my service area, again, PTACs all provide the same services, and you can find your local PTAC at the link here. Next slide, please. And this is just a resource page with lots of links. Again, you're going to get these slides, so I'm not going to go over every single one. But you can find your PTAC, you can find your SBDC. Small Business Development Centers are fantastic for general business assistance, or if you're looking for loans, identifying your NAICS code, state of California opportunities. So you can go ahead and navigate these links on your own, or also a PTAC procurement specialist can walk you through it as well. We have a couple webinars coming up. Again, all no cost to you. Next week, we have Elevate Your Business with California Multiple Award Schedules. And then we have 2 that we're partnering on with Caltrans, Finding Contracting Opportunities with Caltrans. And then we have a Public Works Contracting web series that we're really excited about. Those are both in partnership with Caltrans District 2, but anyone statewide is welcome to attend. And then again, if you have any questions at all, this is my personal cell phone number or my email address. Feel free to reach out. And I will send it back to Amanda or Danella. Thanks so much. Oh, actually, can I answer a question that I just saw in the chat? Someone said there's no PTAC located in SLO, Santa Barbara County. Can I contact NorCal? There is a PTAC located in Monterey, and they would be your resource. So if you go to the website, find your PTAC, type in or select California, you'll see the Monterey Bay PTAC, and they can help you. And if anyone has questions about which PTAC do I go to, which SBDC do I go to, I really don't mind if you give me a call or send me an email. I can help with that. Thanks.
So I just want to thank Christina Kunkel for her presentation. I would also like to thank you for participating. We're really happy that you logged on and participated with our DBE presentation. We would like to thank Jessica Bureau for setting up the small business webinar series. We'd like to thank the partners and we'd like to thank our partners in advertising who are also resources for you as a business owner. NorCal PTAC and Monterey Bay PTAC, who are both procurement technical assistance centers, the Small Business Development Centers, Cal Poly SBDC, Cal Coastal SBDC, the Economic Development Collaborative, the Associated General Contractors of California, the many chambers of commerce, including the Solvang Chamber and Santa Maria Chamber, the Caltrans Office of Civil Rights, Granite, and CPM Logistics. I'd also like to thank my counterparts throughout the state, the Caltrans District Small Business Liaisons for their assistance in promoting and advertising this series. And I wanted to remind you that we will stay on Zoom a few minutes after we're done with the presentation to answer your questions. And I wanted to remind you that if you do have questions, you know, tomorrow, a day after tomorrow, you can always email us at the smallbusinessadvocate@dot.ca.gov email. We'll be more than happy to answer your questions. If you do have, if you're thinking of applying for DBE certification, I would recommend that you call the certification office directly or send an email, and you will be contacted, and the certification analyst will be happy to answer any questions you may have. So that's it for us. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Do we have any questions that have come through?
No,
No?
not so far.
Okay. We'll hang out here for a few minutes, and if anyone wants to type in the chat box, we can take a couple since we ended a little bit early. So we'll hang out for a minute. I see some people are leaving, so wait a few minutes and see.
Can you unmute me?
Okay.
Okay, so I have a question here.
Okay.
The application asks for information about multiple owners. If I am the only owner eligible for disadvantaged membership, do I also fill out information for the non-disadvantaged owner who owns less than 49%? The answer to that is yes. In the DBE certification application, there's a majority owner page. The page right after that, which I think is page 7 and 8, is for the minority owner. If you have, let's say for example, you're the majority owner and then you have 4 other owners, then you would just want to make a copy of page 8 and list each owner and their ownership. Let's see here.
Another one?
No other questions so far. We have gotten a lot of thank you for the great presentation, so thank you.
It looks like we might have one more.
So, so it says you already answered me. I do have to have minimum 1 truck. That truck can be a lease. Yeah, so I'm not sure if you want to answer on that question, but trucking certification, you would want to own 1 truck, and you might lease 3 or 4 other trucks, but you can get that question answered directly with the certification office. If a business is denied for a legitimate reason, but the situation is correctable, what action should be taking moving forward? So if you're denied DBE certification, you will be sent a letter, and the letter will tell you why you were denied. So the date on that denial letter, you have a year from the date on that letter to reapply. And you know, some firms do get denied, and some firms come back a year later and get approved. So yes, you do have to wait a year. And also, just a reminder that if you are denied, the denial letter has the address for the United States Department of Transportation, so you can always appeal the denial as well. How can we prepare for a home office visit? Honest, a lot of the on-site interviews are done at home offices. They could be in the garage, in the kitchen. It really doesn't matter. There's nothing you need to do to prepare. The certification analyst will have an on-site interview questionnaire. It takes about an hour and a half. The certification analyst will take a picture of the majority owner in their work order. In their work office. Because of COVID-19, some of I believe the on-sites are being done virtually, but for clarification, we'd like you to call the certification office.
Yeah, and that's what they're there for as far as answering these questions. We like to provide an overview and answer the more general things, but yeah, we also want to make sure that you're getting the most up-to-date information. So actually, I see someone in here, I don't know if she's still on, but Dolene Jones. So I saw her 2 years ago. She was trying to get certified. And I see now she's certified. So congratulations, Dolene. And now she's looking to bid on Caltrans projects. So I will personally reach out to you and provide you with some more information. I'm so happy to hear that. That's great. See, that DBE certification, those success stories from way back when.
Yeah.
So yeah. And then
that's really great to hear. I do have a question. I sell asphalt. I'm not a trucking company, so doesn't matter if you're a supplier or a trucking company. You can apply for DBE certification and just list what your primary business activity is.
Yeah, you would on our Caltrans contracts, you can go to our Contractors Corner site and search in the bid items. I'm giving you an extremely general overview. But if you wanted to email us, we can give you more information. But basically, we'd have bid items for asphalt, whether that be pouring or if they need it for a contract. So there's options for you to be DBE certified and be, provide supplies as well. So we can get that. Okay. Yeah. So, you're welcome to email us if you'd like more information, but we definitely, asphalt is related to the highways, so we could definitely use your products. And we also have on one of our websites, an authorized materials list. So the specific asphalt you sell, if it's on that list, then we take it. If not, you have the opportunity to possibly get on that list. So we have some options for you. So with that being said, are there any more questions or?
Last call for questions. So there's a question, if I have inherited real estate out of USA, do I have to report that? So the personal net worth statement, section 4, include all real estate owned. You include your primary residence, any investment properties, personal property leased or rented, farm properties, or any other income producing property. So yes, you want to, any real estate that you own, you want to list that on your personal net worth statement. You'll want to have the present market value and if there's a mortgage attached to it. So yes, you do have to share all that information. Because of COVID-19, I had to close my office. So if they want a virtual visit, will that be okay? I would say 90% of small businesses that become DBE certified are home-based businesses. So we go to wherever the office is. That could be in the home. I've done on-sites in the garage before.
And so it might just be best for them to contact the certification analyst to see what the status of that is right now.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's always changing. So we don't necessarily want to give an answer now that might change tomorrow. So
Yeah.
we will, if you want to provide us your email address or email the Small Business Advocate, or you have the information, but we can get you in touch with one of them.
Yes. Yeah. And I believe that is more questions coming in. These are really great questions. And this shows that all the participants are really interested in this certification. I do want to add that, you know, there are 8 certifying agencies in California, but once you're DBE certified, so once you're a disadvantaged business enterprise, that means that you can apply to be on federally funded contracts. So I think someone had a question about being certified with another agency here in California as a DBE. And I just wanted to share that once you're DBE certified, you can bid on any federally funded project.
Yeah, like we mentioned earlier, you know, including our local agencies, those are the the cities and the counties and any of our sub-recipients. As far as you know, numbers go, it's somewhere around 600. So there's a ton of opportunity throughout the state of California to use this DBE certification. And just one more thing to touch on, that, you know, being DBE certified, we don't have millions of people on this list. And in fact, I think it's in the tens of thousands, maybe. Less than 20,000. I mean, it's been about a year since I last checked, but it was about 16,000. So you have to remember that that's among all types of trades. So, you know, if you do construction, you know, we don't have 15,000 DBEs for construction. That's statewide. So you do have to remember that it really is bringing you opportunities that you might not be able to get without it. So why not? You know, it's a little bit of time, but it's definitely worth it. So do we have any other questions?
Yeah, and I just wanted to add that when I worked in certification and I was a certification analyst, you develop a relationship with the applicant. So if you do submit an application, you will have access to your certification analyst. There's a question here, need help locating my application. So I don't have access to the certification database. So if you could please call 916-324-1700 or email them directly. You know, let them know the name of your company and any other pertinent information, and they can go on the database and look at that for you.
Okay, and then if anyone has further questions, you know, we do have the certification information on the screen, or you can use the Small Business Advocate at dot.ca.gov, which is in the chat box. And we'll end here a little bit early so that you guys can all go and enjoy lunch. But thank you, everyone. Have a good day. Have a good weekend. Stay safe.
Bye.